All right, folks, here's a Mega 3 Storm Team, it's a live stream. We're going to give you a weather update on what's happening with our weather across the Arklatex. First, we'll start with what happened earlier today. It was a warm day, according to the Shreveport National Weather Service. This is their almanac records they put out every day, twice a day. They do the early morning, or at least morning time frame, and then they post one in the evening. The high temperature is 81 today. The average is about 66 for this time of year, and the record's 85. Now, that's a 30-year average, according to the National Weather Service, folks. We were 15 degrees above average today, and we actually were on the backside of a cold front, a weak one that passed through yesterday evening. The morning temperature, at least so far today, has been 52, and the average is about 44. The record back in 2002, many years ago, there was 20 degrees. Weather Watcher reports. Go ahead and name all my pals here. Ken Wall in New Boston, 82 today. Chuck Ham in Redwater this afternoon. He was enjoying that nice weather, low humidity, of course, high fire danger, but having a cigar, and he was listening to Jethro Tull. I don't know any rockers out there that are about my age, but that sounded like a pretty good day there, actually. Ken or Reed Eisenhower there at Texarkana had 74. Brian Loper at Atlanta, Texas there at 77. And again, averages in the mid-60s for this time of year. Vic Scarborough in Ida, Louisiana, 78. Bob Fincher's down in fabulous Bellevue, Louisiana. Fabulous downtown Bellevue, 83 today. And Wayne Hatfield in Homer, he's been with us a long time, 78 degrees there for him. A little farther south and over to the west, we had June Jones, Elysian Fields, 77, 79 for Bob Baker in Carthage. Had the low 80s there for Francis Moody at Cypress Lake. Stonewall, Kay Berry reported 80 degrees. And down in Clarence, Louisiana there, Barry Howard registered 80 degrees. And the low 80s for Molly Rankin in Benton. Randall Elliott there in Benton area. East Benton, actually, for him. Gary Stratton and Blanchard, 80 this afternoon. Mike Lyles in Shreveport, 80 degrees. Ronnie Hull also in Shreveport, lower 80s. And Mr. Mark Potter's been with us a long time. He had 80 this afternoon. Thank you, Weather Watchers, for your participation there. It really is nice to get a feel for how it is in the places where people live, the small communities, the countryside, what have you. The automated temperatures that we post are at the little airports, and also some of the in-between spots are interpolated. And so not everybody lives at the airport, obviously, unless you're an employee there as of late, you might. But anyway, the automated temperatures as of the 8 o'clock hour, 63 in Shreveport, lower 60s in Minden, mid-50s down Natchitoches Way, 59 in Carthage, and 63 up in Ida Bell, and 63 in Hope, Arkansas. So it's a mild start to a Friday evening. I don't know if you were watching earlier this evening, but during the 5 o'clock show and the 6 o'clock show, we had a little fire break out there on Highway 84 in southwest part of Wynn Parish. It's gone away, but we could see the cloud plume on our Willis-Knighton Mega 3 Doppler radar, but it appears to have gone away. So we're just looking at a little bit of ground clutter near the radar site up there in Mooringsport, and that's just an indication of a stable atmosphere. Our radar beams are kind of bumping into what we call the temperature inversion, where the air is a little bit warmer above the ground. The ground's cooling off rapidly because the humidity is low and the skies are clear. So you're looking at radiative heat transfer to outer space. And anyway, the air is a pretty good insulator. It takes a while for it to cool down. So we're looking at some of those radar beams that are shooting out from 125 feet up, and they're kind of bouncing in to that inversion layer there. And anyway, that's what we're picking up with the ground clutter. So no precipitation out there. We could sure use some, but it's not in the cards. 0% chance of rain as we get into tonight. And then for tomorrow, there's a slim possibility up north and west of I-30 of rain. The numbers reflect the chance of at least 1/100th of an inch of precipitation at a point location, say Ida Bell and the Queen. And that's out of 100%. So not a very good chance of measurable rain for you. Elsewhere, it looks like a 0% possibility of rain. And our drought, well, this is the latest drought monitor, and I believe this is from the Climate Prediction Center, or NOAA. And the red areas indicate extreme drought. So, just really dry weather or dry conditions, dry ground. Mount Pleasant on up toward Idabel near the Queen. The gold areas in the Cape, severe, so bad enough just for about everybody. Pretty much Arklatex wide. I mean, you do step down a little bit there into a moderate drought condition in parts of the area, but um, for the most part, it's not a good time to do any outdoor burning. And it's prohibited by law where you see the red shadings. So all the way northeast Texas down into northern Toledo Bend, toward Toledo Bend Dam, all of northwest Louisiana and northern Louisiana, missing Claiborne and Lincoln parishes. But even in those locations, the ground is so dry that it's just not a good ideal for any outdoor burning. And Oklahoma and southwest Arkansas, just a couple of counties up that way, are not included. So anyway, burn bans cover most of the areas. So just kind of hold off until we get some significant rain. The jet stream, as of today, was still showing the predominant ridge there. Looks like a mountain ridge when you just look down on it. And the jet stream, the upper level river wind that controls our weather at the surface, bows up, high up, and starts kind of working down. So we've got a northwest flow that put a weak cold front through here yesterday. Well, that little disturbance has moved off to the south and east. And so we got and it's a dry flow, but we're still under the influence of this ridge. And that's why it's so warm. Usually that type weather pattern where you have the ridge where the jet stream bows up to the north like a mountain gives you a lot of stability and also gives you some very warm weather. And in summertime, like in August, it bakes us. That's when we see our string of 100 plus degree days well above average. And well, we were there today, 15 degrees above average because of that weather feature. And it looks like that weather feature will hang on through the weekend. As I'll show you in the jet stream forecast, it'll hang on probably through next week. It'll just kind of shift its location. It'll kind of move over toward Florida and it'll really get the baking. Earlier today, by the way, beneath this ridge, it was in the mid 90s, in the Phoenix area, mid 90s. So already feeling like summertime. And it's only last 2 days of February. But anyway, what we're looking at, where you see the green colors, there's a little disturbance. There's a little spin out there in the Eastern Pacific, and that upper level low may actually give us a possibility of rain by the middle part of the week, but it'll send out little waves, little what we call perturbations that'll kind of work through the jet stream flow. And one of those will come down this weekend and perhaps give the I-30 corridor a few showers, but not a big chance, though, because that ridge is still strong and it'll just be a weak disturbance. Satellite radar got the cold front from yesterday down in the Gulf of Mexico. High pressure at the surface, keeping our winds very light today, just a light northeast flow. And of course, clear skies. Got a few high clouds coming through Oklahoma there in that northwest jet stream flow. Temperature-wise, it's a mild start to the evening. Oh, it's still 74 there in Austin, 63 in Shreveport, Little Rock. Also mild to warm there, 61 at 8 o'clock in the evening in February, late February, 70 down in New Orleans. And it's dry throughout all this area, but it'll cool down rapidly tonight, though, with that low humidity air. That'll certainly allow for that radiational cooling to get going there. So cool night for us. And as we get into tomorrow, some of those high clouds will drift across the area. So we'll have a mostly sunny day. That sun will shine through those high clouds. They're running probably 20 to 25,000 feet up in the atmosphere tomorrow, and very thin ice crystal clouds. So high pressure will start sliding to the east. We'll pick up a little bit of a south wind, and it'll warm up. We'll be right back in the 80s. Now, that next little disturbance coming out of the Pacific that's going to ride the ridge our way in the jet stream flow will have a surface component, a weak cold front that'll push down into our area. But it'll be just like the last cold front, didn't do squat for us. In other words, we were in the 80s today and 80s yesterday. Anyway, by tomorrow afternoon, this might be in southern Oklahoma by then. And then we get into Sunday. A few showers may break out along that front. I didn't draw it in, but there's a little, like an inverted trough across eastern Oklahoma that may show up. And what we call the moisture convergence around that boundary could pop up a few showers north and west of I-30. So that's Sunday morning. Could have a little bit of patchy fog down in Toledo Bend country we'll start seeing what we call the return flow from the Gulf of Mexico with the high pressure system moving to the east. We'll get a little bit of a south wind coming off the Gulf, and it could possibly, it doesn't take long to get moisture train rolling back in here, but it could bring a little bit of patchy fog. It depends on how much, cloudiness, how thick the high clouds will be over our area. I'm not expecting too much out of that. And then all that business breaks up. Still some showers up in Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas for the late afternoon. And that front kind of hangs up near the Louisiana border. And it'll just back up to the north as a warm front and not even bother us. Wish it would bother us, but it doesn't have any push, doesn't have any big storms with it to give us much needed rain. So we'll have some high clouds, but otherwise it'll just be a warm Sunday for us. So a little closer to home. Again, a cool night. And then we'll see those high clouds kind of come by and visit with us for tomorrow with a mix of sunshine. But it should be a pretty day. And then you can see the green on the map, the computer model. This is the medium range GFS model, shows a little bit of shower activity possible there in southern Oklahoma, North Texas, and patchy fog possible. And I didn't put it in the humidity getting up close to saturation, at least Toledo Bend, southern Toledo Bend through southern parts of East Texas, like Sam Rayburn and that area could have a little bit of fog. But again, if we have a pretty thick veil of high clouds, that'll keep that fog at bay. We call that radiation, and also advection fog pushing in from the southern part of Louisiana and southeast Texas. And anyway, long story short, we get into your afternoon hours on Sunday, a few high clouds here and there. It still looks like a nice weekend for us. Just remember the high fire danger. Just be careful out there. Forecast rain amounts, according to that computer model, not too impressive. And I use that GFS quite a bit. I think it does really well down here in the south. It's not as pinpoint accuracy in a sense compared to some of the shorter range models like the HRRR, but it does a great job in the south. It really, your weather, it's all limited because you get some error the longer you go out with these type, what we call deterministic computer models. They take, again, the observations from weather balloons, weather balloons released by the National Weather Service, and that's 100-plus-year-old technology. And you throw the data from those balloons as they go up in the atmosphere into these fancy computer models. And so you're already limited on your initial boundary conditions feeding the models. So you'll see people online showing these models, 3 weeks out, we're going to get 20 inches of snow. You really just can't bank on any of that stuff. But ensemble models, though, can help you determine how things are looking. If the models, when you change up the conditions, how they work with the initialized data, and you go out a certain distance to see what kind of changes will move the model off its solution. Anyway, you can use those to kind of give you an idea what's going on in the future if your model's working right or if another model needs to be used. It compares models. But anyway, long story short, not too much rain in the northern part of the Arklatex. I digress there. As you can tell, I've always been into meteorology. From day one, when I was a kid, it's all I ever wanted to do. But I had, I took different paths. I was a mechanical engineer for 6 years, but I couldn't get away from that weather. So finally went back to school, got the degree in it. And then I never imagined doing this stuff, especially on a Friday night at 8 p.m., right? Anyway, okay, I digressed again. Here's your jet stream forecast. So our ridge out west, it stays strong, and strong meaning it's amplified. It's got a pointy top to it, and it's pretty solid. And also when you got a close in circle there, that means pretty strong ridge. So it hangs out there. This is this evening. And as we go through time, it does flatten a little bit because this little disturbance in the storm track kind of pushes it down and then shoves it off to the east. So where you see the yellow colors, we're still under the influence of the ridge. So we're warm, we're in the 80s, but the humidity's coming back. So we got a little bit of moisture, at least in the lower part of the atmosphere, but the mid and high levels, that ridge is still kind of squashing the moisture. But with the storm track dipping down into Oklahoma, it's possible we could see a little bit of rain off of that little disturbance where you see the L coming by. This is for a Wednesday time frame. That may be our first chance of anything significant rain-wise. That's several days away, 5 days away. And so the ridge, it becomes amplified in the southeast United States. So those guys are going to have their heat wave, and they're going to be dry as. And in fact, they've got very high fire danger down in Florida. So those guys will get it now. And the ridge will rebuild a little bit out west. So the ridge is just hanging on in the southern United States, as you can see. But with that little upper level system coming by there Wednesday, that could give us that chance of rain. That moves on by, then the whole weather pattern starts getting amplified, and you get this trough. It looks like a watering trough. If you're mess with livestock or you're drumming out in the country, you'll see troughs, watering troughs for the horses and what have you. So anyway, a trough, that's where you get your inclement weather. And it's also colder in the upper atmosphere too. So you see the blue colors there. Ridge builds up in the Pacific, and the ridge builds over Florida. So hotter and stable over Florida, hot and stable or warmer and stable over the Pacific. Now the ridge hangs out west, so it does a couple things. Where you see that axis there, east of that, or on the right of that axis, that's where your inclement weather is. And so you're getting dynamic lift, making for rain in the lower elevations, snow in the higher elevations. And if you're into skiing, well, Colorado would be the place to go, New Mexico and all those areas. Utah out west will be getting hammered if this forecast comes to fruition. This is late next week, though. For us, it gives us a flow coming out of the southwest, and you see one of the lines there kind of bending in a little trough there. So with the little bends, there are little ripples, little we call perturbations or disturbances may come up in that southwest flow. And if we're going to see precipitation in a flow that stays this way for several days, that's one that you like because it'll be drawing up Gulf of Mexico moisture. It'll also be pulling in some moisture from the Pacific, and it'll help precipitate over our area. And we really do need it. So I think that this weather pattern change, if it does occur, that would be good for us. Eventually, this will probably come through that trough, but at least by the perhaps the end of the week, into the weekend, we could see that rain chance pick up. Now, this is the surface part of the GFS model, again, the medium range model. And I was looking at another model today, the European. It also kind of was hinting at this late week stuff. So the two models, good for the longer range forecast, seem to be jiving a little bit, that we could have some rain there. This is Wednesday, and then a bit of a break. And then we get into, this will be Saturday, and the Sunday might get another round of rain in our area. But that's several days off. And again, there's a lot of air that builds up, not only just from the initialization of the original model start with the balloon data, but also there's air that adds up as you go in the course of time. So once you get 7, 8 days out, you're really starting to pick up some error in a deterministic type model. So anyway, it's subject to change, but we'll continue to monitor that, the intensity and the timing of all that rain, if it happens, could change between now and then. So we'll monitor that for you. For tonight in Shreveport, though, low of 52, clear skies, lower 50s, Texarkana, upper 40s, Toledo Bend, Center Texas, Hope, Magnolia. And then we get into tomorrow, the lower 80s, another well above average warm day. And if we don't have too many high clouds around, it may actually get warmer than that because we're starting to pick up a little bit of a light breeze, but the ground is dry. And the models will show they'll be a little bit conservative on that because they don't quite understand the very dry soil. And so the GFS especially. So anyway, it could conceivably be warmer than at 82 for tomorrow. So don't be too surprised. That being the case, if you're outdoors working out or working, say in the garden or something, you may break a pretty good sweat and a little trace of humidity. Humidity will start increasing a little bit, not too much with that south wind because it'll be light, but it'll start increasing on you. By Sunday, you'll notice the difference. But across the area, pretty much the lower 80s in the forecast for tomorrow. 7-day forecast, a little more cloudiness around for Sunday, highs in the lower 80s. And notice the morning temperature coming up, so the south winds increasing the warmth coming from the Gulf of Mexico, advecting in, but also the moisture starts picking up. And again, a little bit of patchy fog, perhaps Toledo Bend, East Texas, Lakes area, whatever, could have a little fog that morning. And then we get into your Monday, mostly cloudy, and we're close to 60. And then Tuesday, cloudy skies, and we're still getting up in the 80s. That's a spring-like forecast there, but that ridge still having dominance. So those are just those clouds aren't really building up in the atmosphere. They're still, there's still that dry part of the middle and upper atmosphere due to that ridge. But then if that weather pattern does change and we do see that trough in the middle part of the country come our way for Wednesday, that could increase our rain chance at that time. And it could be a degree or two cooler for the highs then. So Wednesday, a little chance of rain. And that 40% means the chance out of 100% that you'll receive measurable rain at your location, at least 1/100th of an inch. But this many days out, that could change on you. And if it's a real certainty, by the time we get to that day, it'll be 100% probability of measurable rain. But it's too many days out to really speculate if that's going to occur or not. Thursday and a Friday, perhaps not a big chance of rain. And it looks like, and the reason why those days the possibility is lower is that little dip in the jet stream could push a weak front our way, and then it stalls out in the northern part of the Arctic. And then once that disturbance moves by, the ridge behind it pulls that front to the north as a warm front. That being the case, the rain chance will go down until we get the next frontal system, perhaps over the weekend. So anyway, I've been going long enough, and I'm sure you guys got better things to do on a Friday night. But thanks for watching. And if you want more weather, we'll be back on in about 38 minutes, I believe, or so on KPXJ CW 21 News at 9. We'll have weather and sports and a lot of news to tell you about. And then at 10 o'clock on KTPS Channel 3. So stay tuned. And in the meantime, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your Friday night. We'll see you back in just a little bit.